Welcome to the Boundary Breakers Collective, your source for boundary-pushing discussions and fresh perspectives on cultivating limitless possibilities. Each week, Helena de Monk brings you smart and conscious women who are challenging conventions. They are transforming their lives, industries, and communities through courage, creativity, and collaboration. Our goal is to shine a light on impactful women who are forging their own paths and reinventing the way we think about boundaries. Whether you're a seasoned leader, entrepreneur, or just starting your journey, our discussions aim to spark fresh perspectives on how you can rise above perceived limitations. Welcome to the Boundary Breakers Collective. Let's get started.
So welcome back and thanks for joining us. And I am thrilled today to be here with Estie Starr. She's an award-winning business consultant, an exceptional marketing strategist, avid speaker, and founder of Strand Consulting, a multinational business consultancy focused on small business marketing success on bootstrapped budgets. Estie built her own business to 7 figures profit without spending a dime on ads, while raising 5 kids. And she truly believes that you too can do what you love, earn buckets of money, and have time to enjoy life and family. And we want to hear all about this. Welcome, Estie. I am so glad to have you on my talk show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, my first question is always the same. What is it that defines you as a boundary breaker?
Hmm. Um, I guess it's part of who I am. I look at rules as suggestions.
I love that. Mm-hmm.
That it's who I am. The boundary is a
Yeah.
suggestion, in my
Uh-huh.
opinion.
Yeah. And it looks like you have created life for yourself and the world for yourself since you were very, very small. I was looking at your website, and I invite people that watching this or are listening in just to visit Estie's website, because if you look at the about section, it's just amazing and sometimes also hilarious, because the first fact that you mention, Estie, is when you were 4 years old, you were on a flea market negotiating about sunglasses. And I think the price was $2, and you said, I only have $1. And the guy said, yes, okay, I will sell it to you for $1. And you paid with a $5 bill. I thought that was just hilarious. And then your story goes on in really creating and interacting and exchanging and exploring. So tell us a little bit more about what mindsets did you already build or have at that very young age?
I I don't remember a time when I didn't think that I could make things happen.
Mm,
So for me, it's always been okay, I want this or I want to do this. How? How do I do this? How can I do this? I
mm,
don't, I'm, I'm trying to think, like, I can't think of anything where I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, guess I can't do that. Like, it's not how I'm wired. Like, I seem to be
mm.
wired in how do I do this way?
Wonderful. And your upbringing, your parents, do you feel that they had like a role in that, in how they raised you, how they looked at you, how they motivated you? Or do you say, no, this is just something that was there?
Now, I can't imagine they didn't have a role in it.
Mm,
That wouldn't make any sense. I definitely would say I was born curly, right? I've had curly hair since I was tiny. So that like electric high energy has always been mine. And but my parents they didn't stop me, if that
yeah.
makes sense. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember them specifically encouraging me, saying like, "Oh yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can build the life of your dreams." Like that's not the house I grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
but they also weren't the type of people who were like, "Well, you can't do that because no one's done that before." That's not how I grew up. I grew up where they were like, "All right, F around and find out."
Mm, yeah. I so resonate with that, Esty. I had parents that did similar things. I mean, they never really stimulated or encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do, but they never kept me from doing it. They always supported my choices. And I had these similar things like starting my holiday job, my summer job when I was 15, starting my weekend job when I was 16. When I studied, I had a job. Because I wanted to be independent. I wanted to do my own things. And they were like, okay, you do this. Sometimes they were like, okay, really, you're going to do this? But they never said, you cannot do this. And this always gave me such a confidence boost in terms of whatever works or whatever doesn't work. I can go back home and they will be there for me. Does that sound familiar? Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, no, I
No.
could never go back home. No, my parents weren't like the nice people.
Hmm.
They just didn't pay that much attention.
Okay. Yeah.
And when
That's
they did,
different.
they would stop me from certain, like, so I had a job when I was 16. I taught painting classes in a local art studio. All my friends were hostessing and waitering because that was the really good money. And my dad was
Yeah.
like, "You will not be a waitress." I was like, "But that's where the good money is." And he was just like, "No, over my dead body. Like, you will not be a waitress." I'm like, "But I want to earn money." He's like, "Find a different job." So they didn't stop me from getting a job. They're like, "You want to work? Go ahead," right? Because I
Hmm.
wanted things that they weren't willing to pay for. And
Exactly. Yes.
in my upbringing, money was power. A lot of what I did, they didn't know anything about until it was too late. So not stopping me wasn't, and they weren't encouraging. They weren't like, "Oh yeah, start your own business."
Mhm.
Um, but it got, it's interesting. I'm like going back now. I haven't thought about this in a long time. In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. It was not consistent. Like there really
Mhm.
wasn't consistency. But I'm remembering when I was 10, I ran my bracelet business. They
Yeah.
knew I was doing something with bracelets. My mom did take, I needed a ride, obviously. I was 10. It's like I needed a ride to the sewing store to get my supplies, and she would take me. Like she
Yeah.
did. They helped me buy my supplies. I
Mhm.
think they thought it was a project until I came home with like 20 or 30 orders and like hundreds of dollars, and they were just like,
Whoa.
"What is going on?" They're like, "You're gonna get that all back." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm
Mm.
gonna fulfill the orders." And so
That's just
mixed bag,
amazing.
if you will. Yeah, I don't know. I never really thought about it so
Yeah.
much. I've done a
So,
lot of work to work through my parental issues. Um,
mm,
but I can't deny that I'm not a product of my upbringing. For in
mm,
some ways because of, and in other ways in spite of.
yeah. So, who or what inspired you, or did you have a role model when you were like an adolescent and creating all these businesses and opportunities and seeing all these possibilities? Were you inspired by somebody or something?
Specifically,
Mm.
I had an aunt who I really liked who was super successful, but she was corporate. She wasn't an entrepreneur. She was corporate, but I liked her.
Mm.
Um, Trying to like who else inspired me. I don't remember having any role model or anyone that I was trying to follow. I've
Yeah.
always kind of just followed the voice inside. Like
Yeah.
if I want to do something, I will keep trying until I do it or change my mind.
Yeah.
And so
I
my role model,
understand.
I feel like, has always been some future version of me that I've been chasing.
That's nice. That's beautiful. Yeah. For me, what inspired me or what was my driver was I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be financially independent. I wanted to be able to go where I wanted to. So in Europe, we get our driver's license at 18. I know in the US it's at 16, but I was 18 in one day and I had my driver's license because I wanted to be able to drive, to go wherever I wanted. For me, my big driver was independence. Like, okay, I want to do my things. I don't want to ask for anything. I want to be, my own boss. And that's why I also started my own business when I was 25. I worked in corporate for not even 3 years. And I said, no, I'm not going to do this. This is not what I want. And I started my own business, without I didn't have any commitment yet, no children, no house, no mortgage, nothing. And I said, I'm just going to do this. And everybody said, really? How are you going to do this? I said, I'm just going to do this. So I think there's some similarities
Yeah.
in what we did, and it's funny. That's why I also try to explore your drivers or your role models, because it's just interesting to see also as parents, for the people listening in, if you want to raise your children to be independent instead of dependent and dependable. And there are some things that you can bring, that you can give them in order to to build that confidence and that trust that they can do it. So I'm curious, because you have 5 children. Um, how do you raise them? How do you, because you're a role model, whether you want it or not, you're a role model. So what do you bring them in order to make sure that they take most out of life?
I read a parenting book once called Planting and Building. And so I really do see my role as a parent and as a coach and a guide and a mentor and all these things in that way. But as a parent, more than anything, there is an essence to each of my children that is so different. Each of my kids is really their own unique world, their own soul, their own journey. Um, but there's an element of just basic nurture, right? Like you would give a plant, sunlight and good soil and water and nurture and care and space
Mm.
and listening ear and all of those things. And then there's building, which is these are the structures. These are the things you can do and you can't do. Um,
Mhm.
and I actually have a class that I will give one day that I've had in the back of my mind and written out for a long time. It's called The Business of Parenting. So many of the
Mm.
strategies that I use as a parent are strategies that I use in business. So many of the things I teach my clients and students to do in their business are the exact same things that I learned in parenting and that I do in parenting. And sometimes when I have a client or student that is a parent, I will use that metaphor for them. I once had a client who um, really had issues managing her staff. Like just they stepped all over her and it was ridiculous. And she had also a bunch of children. And I was like, honey, you would never let your kids treat you this way. She's like, oh no. I was like, you need to manage that team like you manage
Mm.
your family. You cannot, you would never let a child just like come and go as they please. She's like, oh, but she was late and she had a reason. I was like, no, that's not how
Mm.
this works. You would never do that. And so taking that management and that metaphor and marketing strategy, which is motivation towards the goal that I want. So example, one of my clients ran, let's say a fitness center, had a sales team. They got a commission every time they closed a new member, and that was it. And so my client ended up getting a lot of people that were members for just 1 month and then leaving. And he was paying these guys a big commission for all these 1 month members. I was like, we need to change the commission structure. They get a certain amount when they sign up, but then they get more when they stay 3 months and more when they stay for the year. So you need
Mm.
to motivate them on what you want. So I do the same for my kids. We have special
Yeah.
books that are only for bedtime. Why? But I want to read it now. Nope, that's a bedtime book. Why? Because
Mm.
it motivates you to get ready for bed. And I have so many
Yeah.
structures like that in place. We have a rule in my house um, that you never get punished for telling the truth. But if you lie, you get punished double for the thing you did and for lying. And so
Yeah.
those structures are motivators. I want to raise honest kids. People are like, so if your kid does something really bad and they tell you they get no consequence, I was like, that's right. And my
Mm.
kids tell me things because they
Yeah.
know if they tell me if I find out myself and you're like, oh yeah, that was me. No, I already found out. That's not called telling the truth. That's called fessing up to something I already know the answer to. You didn't win that.
Mm.
But if you come and you tell me when I don't know, you've told me the truth. And I want to train you to be an honest person. So if I'm going
Mm.
to do that, I'm going to create motivational structures within how I run my family to build, and that's the building part, to build the habits, to build the values that I
Yeah.
want them to have,
Mm.
but also
That's
allowing
beautiful.
them to grow into who and what they are. Each one is
Yeah.
different. Some need more social, some need less social. School is
Yeah.
mandatory, mostly. But camp, I don't know, I have a kid home today. Didn't want to go. Isn't feeling so great. I should force him to go to camp?
Mm.
Why?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love these structures, and I also love the fact that you reward what you want to see happening. And this is also something we see in organizations, and we are not aware of that because sometimes we are rewarding in family or in organizations, we are rewarding perverse behavior. We are rewarding very competitive behavior. We are rewarding unethical behavior because of the bonus system and how it is organized, or because other rules and regulations, and we are not aware of that. And it is very interesting, and it doesn't happen very often, to really make the analysis and even maybe do that together also as a team or as a family if you're talking about older children. Like, okay, what is it that we want to represent as a family? How do we want to be? What values do we honor? And how are we going to create the rules around that? So this is a beautiful example of boundary setting, because we are talking about boundary breaking, but you cannot break boundaries if you are also not at the same time set boundaries in terms of, okay, this is what I'm not going to tolerate, or these are the limits of or this is a framework in which we are going to operate or live or work together. So these are beautiful examples. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So you continued basically, well, I don't know. Tell me a little bit more, because I mean, you were as a junior, you had your own business, and then you got married, you got 5 children, but you also developed your business during that time, right? You combined
I did
family
both.
and
So,
expansion with business expansion, right?
yeah. I I always had side hustles, but I also have been employed since I was 16. Right. So 16 was the first time I had like a job. 10 was the first time I
Mm,
had like a proper business. And that was a proper business. Cost of goods sold, documented, order forms, little ads that I put up in the sewing store. Like part of this is just who I am.
hmm
My dad is not, he's an entrepreneur, but he's a broker, which is really different than, so I say there are 5 types of entrepreneurs. You have what I call the creatives or the talented, right? You've got a natural talent, you're good at something, and you want to turn it into a business. Number 2, you have the employees or the certified, right? You learned a skill, you were trained in something, certified, worked in it. So you have a skill, you want to turn that into a business. Not inborn or innate, maybe related to it. You have what I call the guides, coaches, consultants, authors, course creators. Sorry, my voice does that. It's part of my soapbox. And they want to help others through a life experience, through something they're passionate about, but they want to guide specifically. You've got the deal makers, right? Gray market Amazon sellers, real estate brokers, insurance brokers, everything brokers, whatever brokers. They make deals. They love the
Yeah.
thrill of the chase. Then you have solutionizers. They have got the best answer for the next dog walking app, organic dog bed, dog fur, collar cutting, hotel, whatever thing. Um, so my dad was a deal maker. He worked in
Mm,
brokerage. Um, but he did do his own thing. I don't remember my dad ever being like having a boss. Ugh. My mom worked a regular job. And so I always did both. Did my own stuff, but I wasn't a deal maker. I fall into like all 3 of the first buckets, kind of, right? My
mhm,
natural talents, like I made bracelets and things like that. I guess I'm also a deal maker. Fine. All right. I'm probably a little bit of all of them. But the businesses
mm,
I've run have been either based on creative expression or based on my desire to guide, which is why I launched a consultancy and then an online business school.
mm,
And my businesses growing up were related to that, but also I didn't I didn't think I could ever make full-time money out of them. Right? Those were side hustles. I'm really wired for security
mm,
very deeply. So for me, it was all about like if you say you wanted independence, I wanted to be safe. To be safe meant to be free, meant to be self-sustaining. Didn't
mm,
feel that I could trust where I came from. It wasn't a safe environment. It wasn't a place I wanted to stay. So I was trying to get out. And it's different
mm.
than independence. I feel
Yeah.
like independence is like, okay, I like it here, but I want options. And for me, it was like, this is dangerous. I need to get out. I need stability. I need backup plans. I need safety. And I want freedom. Right? So I
Mm,
need safety. I want freedom.
yeah.
And I took jobs starting when I was 16. I worked as a secretary in my late teens also, like when I was 19. I worked in administrative work. And then I got my degree in marketing. I worked in marketing and PR. Then I joined a multinational nonprofit, rose in the ranks to become CIO. got to C-level position, ran all of their database systems, complex budgets. I do database architecture. My ex used to say that I see the world in zeros and ones. I'm very, very number oriented. Did complex budgets. I love playing with numbers. And somewhere around 2011, and I always had side hustles, by the way. Like I was always doing one or a few things on the side. I did hairstyling and hair cutting, specifically for curlies, but I could do straight also. I did medical billing. I did database architecture because I knew how from my job. So I did it on the side. I taught people how to build databases, built some on the side for people. What else did I do? I taught hip hop dance exercise classes because my instructor went on maternity leave and I wanted to exercise and no one else was running the classes I wanted. So I ran them and they were profitable. And because for me, business is, it's just who I am. If I want to do something, I'm
It's
going to do
amazing.
it.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. And there's like no line in it. It's just
No, I
like
can turn
you see
anything
an
into money.
opportunity and you turn it into a business, or you
Yeah.
see a need and you turn it into a business. And that is just amazing. And I understand, I like what you said in terms of although that kind of we did similar things when we were young, our drivers were different. And it is so important to know our drivers. It is so important to know what ticks us and what makes us move and what makes us change, because a lot of people don't even think about that. And so they don't really also do anything with that. So but still, even if you have this safety driver, it's amazing how you are capable of taking in all these different activities that are like on a spectrum. Well, they cannot even be on a spectrum if you look at it. It's just
They're all the same, right? Turning something into money. This is why people say to me sometimes, because so much of the business development in small business is industry specific, right? Especially in marketing for coaches, marketing for construction workers, marketing for chiropractors, marketing for candy bars, like whatever. It's very industry. People are like, well, I want to see testimonials from my industry. I'm like, how about you look at testimonials from 30 industries and find yours in there? I don't sort them by industry. Okay. For me, the foundational business principles work across industries. I have hundreds of clients, thousands of students. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Turning an idea into money, turning a skill, talent, hobby, certification, doesn't matter. There's a set of principles that turn things into money. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, and it doesn't matter how old you are, and it doesn't matter how much money you have or budget you have. None of it. There's just a process that turns anything into money. And so that's the stuff I teach.
That's amazing. It's very inspirational also and encouraging. Now, I wonder, see, if you look at how things have evolved, because you have been in business like, forever. You say, okay, there's like this one thing that is working for every business, for every kind of business. Has that changed in the last decades? Have you seen that one thing change?
Not in the last 3 decades.
Tell me more.
So let's take first the 5 foundational principles that build any business, right? There's 12 in a marketing strategy. There's 3 in a scaling strategy, which is really 9 because it's a 3x3. But there's 5 that turn any idea into money. Number 1, you need to have what we can call a brand, a unique selling proposition. There's got to be some reason I buy from you versus anybody else. It could be because you're next to me today. It could be because I was passing by. It could be a price differentiator. It could be because you're the best expert. It could be because my friend recommended you and she trusts you. It could be anything. There's got to be a reason I'm buying this from you and not solving my problem some other way. So that's number 1, a unique selling proposition, which we call a brand, which is essentially the essence of a brand, which then builds reputation and but everything's built around that, right? What is the essence that makes this thing different than anything else for me to make me want to buy it? 1. Number 2, I need to make sure the thing earns money. I need to make sure that I have something that I can sell that will earn me more than it costs me to sell. You would be shocked how many people try to build businesses, and not just product businesses, service businesses, online courses, all kinds of things that cost them much more than they can reasonably get a return on. They keep going for years and years, maybe. Most people don't know how to build modularly profitable businesses. Startups almost never do, right? A startup, to me, the difference between a startup and something that's starting it up, right? To me, starting it up is bootstrapped. Every dollar you spend is a dollar out of your pocket. Every dollar in is a dollar in your pocket. That goes for your kids' ballet lessons or the dinner on your table. A startup, they've got investors. They've got vision. They don't have to earn money. They just have to look like they're going to in the future. Bootstrapped, you need to earn money. I've always lived in the space where I need to earn money, and not have the luxury of like just throwing money at something and hoping it'll work one day. That's never been my thing. And I'd love to say, even even as I've grown and I've had the ability to spend money and not have to get it back, it would hurt me. Like, I don't want to do that. I never spend more than I'm willing to give away. Same way I spend money on hobbies, right? I'll
Mhm.
spend money to learn something. I'll spend money to try something, but I won't call that a business. I'll call that
Mhm.
a trial, an attempt,
Mhm.
an experiment. That's not a business. A business is when you earn more money than it costs you to serve or provide something to another. It's business. And so
Yeah,
that's another foundation. And that has never changed, right? So the first one's
exactly.
never changed. The second one's never changed. The third one is marketing. Marketing is a means of getting people's attention for the thing you're selling in the unique way you're selling it. And they go in
Mhm.
order. You can't do them out of order. You can't get attention until you know who you are and why someone would buy from you, and that you have something to sell that makes sense.
Mhm.
So marketing is the means of getting attention. Now, how we get attention? Oh, that changed a lot in 30 years.
Mhm.
All the different channels, all the different mediums, different methods, but they're mostly tweakings and modifications on the foundational element of, I need to get my people's attention in a way that makes them interested in buying the thing I'm selling. That
Mhm.
doesn't change. And so as things have progressed, I was a late comer to social media, but I was really successful a lot quicker than most because it's the same. I didn't study social media in university. I graduated in 2004 from business school.
Mhm.
The first iPhone came out in 2007. There was
Yeah.
none of this. We had Blackboard in college, and that was like, whoa, you could learn something on the internet? Dot
Mhm.
com boom was while I was in university. Like, it was ridiculous.
Mhm.
Really old school. But the foundation has not changed. They're just
Mhm.
new and funner ways. So we don't knock on doors, we knock on DMs. It's not different. And so I work with people to work within the mediums that work for them, their personality, their budget. The marketing hasn't changed.
Mhm.
Foundation of it. Extrapolations, that's the fun part. But it's the same. And there's more to that. Marketing is what I've spent the most time on. My degree is in marketing from business school. But that's just keeping it simple for the moment. That's where I have
Mhm.
the most complexity. Then you have sales. Marketing and sales are not the same. For a small business, it's the same person. You need to intertwine them. Corporate separates them. Marketing is the means of getting attention. Sales is the means of turning that attention into money in your pocket. You need to have a means and method of turning attention into money in your pocket. Attention doesn't mean money. Attention just means attention. Sales is the process of turning attention into money. So there's a unique thing about you that would make the right person want to buy it from you over anyone else. There's a thing that you can sell that will earn you more than it costs you to produce or provide. You have a means of getting the right attention from the right people in the right way at the right time. So there is depth there. You have then a process that turns that attention into money in your pocket. Now, have those processes changed? Yes. Is there a 5-stage psychological process that people go through? Always, always. Humans haven't changed yet, right? In our foundational psychology. And if we do, I don't know, I'm tracking it. We'll see.
Mhm.
And then you need systems. You need a
Mhm.
repeatable, replicable way to do this again and again. It's not a business if you do it once,
Mhm.
right? So one time you find something unique, it'll earn you more than it costs you. You get someone's attention and you close a deal. That's not a business unless you can wash, rinse, repeat. Those
Mhm.
5 things make a business. Staffing, systems, operations, it's all in part 5. Show me
Yeah.
anything in business that doesn't fall into one of those buckets. I don't care if you're earning $5, 500, 5,000, 5,000,000, 5,000,000,000. You're doing these 5 things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Those are
beautiful.
SDSMs.
How is this process and the way that you work with it and the way that you manifest that, how does that empower entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs? Because you are in this business, you are coaching and guiding entrepreneurs and future entrepreneurs. How does that make them feel confident to make that move, to do it, to
Because
just
they
go for
start
it?
to realize it's not that complicated. The
Mm.
feedback I get the most from my students, from my followers, wow. I just did a training yesterday, and the feedback at the end of it, people are like, I feel more hopeful than I have in years. I feel better now than I ever have. I think I could actually do this now. What's out there is so confusing. It's so
Mhm.
confusing. No one is sitting and teaching it to you clear the way I just did. They're just not. Why? I can't tell you. Whose agenda is it? Does no one else fully understand it the way I do? That's not true, by the way. I know people who get this. They don't teach it though. Some of them teach it only at a very high level. Like, I don't know anyone who understands this who teaches it at a basic level. They teach it at a high level, $25,000 a day, $25,000 mastermind starting. If you don't have really, and even then, they're helping people who already get it more. Why no one else is out here just screaming at the top of their lungs that anyone can do this if they want to? I don't know, maybe that's my thing that I'm meant to do. But I
Yeah,
feel it very strongly. I'm so passionate about it. I
yeah,
really believe that everyone has a gift and they should be able to share it. They should have the security of knowing how to turn anything into money. Being an entrepreneur is not the most stable you can be. It's always up and down. And I teach people how to take a salary, like a stable salary out of their business. You round the most recent 6 months. That's how you take a stable salary. And then a few months later, you want to recalibrate. You think you're doing better, doing worse, recalibrate. But your 6 month average profit is the salary that you can take. Now, if there's more profit than that, then we're good. But I'm talking about people who are like skimming by, who are like, but how much can I take out of the business? So it's not the
mhm,
most stable. You're never going to earn the exact same amount every month. That's weird. We can stabilize at a certain threshold where you're earning a minimum of 5 or a minimum of 10 or a minimum of 20 or a minimum of 100, right? So there are stable thresholds, but the amounts will fluctuate. 1 month it'll be 20, 1 month it'll be 40, 1 month it'll be 30, 1 month it'll be 15, 1 month it'll be this. So like you're always over 10, or you're always over 15. So there are stable thresholds, but the income will fluctuate. But the security that you don't have to depend on someone else to hire you, I don't know, maybe I didn't think I was likable enough. I don't
mhm.
like pandering. I don't do well, like, yeah, I don't do well with having to work for people who I feel are less competent than I am. And I do also, and I don't do well being told what to do. And there's a lot of things about me that don't. It's amazing that I was an employee for as long as I was, really. I had great bosses, and I left when
Yeah.
that stopped. But I had
Mm.
great bosses, leaders of leaders, people who gave me the space to really express myself and shine. And at the same time, again, being wired for security, I always wanted a backup plan. And so whether your
Mm.
business is your backup plan because it's an extra, or it's your backup plan because you know you can always turn anything into money, that's important to me.
Yeah, yeah. It's very clear in your whole story, Etsy, that you have a vision on what you want to achieve. You have a vision on what your world looks like and how you want to, how you want to proceed in it. You are very, very clear and well, you have a language for it. You are extremely eloquent in order to, to bring that to the world. What would be your advice for people that are still on the fence? Like, I don't know. I've been in corporate for 20 years. I know it's a golden cage, but I don't know. I don't know what my partner will say for about this, because if I start my own business, then probably I will not have, life will change. I will not be there anymore the way I am there now. And what will other people say? And what if something goes wrong? What if I don't make it? What's your advice for the people on the fence?
So there's a few things I would say. One is don't quit your day job. And all the people who are like, cut the cords, release the boats, quit your job and make it work. That is the stupidest, worst advice that I have ever heard for someone who's trying to start a business and doesn't know how. Um, that's what worked for the people who are like warriors and fighters, and this is how they do things. And they're like, you want to be like me? Cut the cords and make it. That's nice. But if they were like that, they would have done it already. Different people are different. You want to quit your day job? Great. You feel really driven to, or you feel like you have to? Fine, but get another one. Have a backup. The worst place to build a business from is fear. Don't do that. So don't quit your day
Mhm.
job. Start small, start on the side. Yeah, you might sleep a little less. Yeah, you might have a little less leisure time, but you'll be building something that's important to you. So
Mm.
that's number one. Number two is if you have all of these what ifs, right? What if they say something? What if this? What if that? Probably those things will all happen, right? What we're most afraid of tends to come true through law of attraction, but I also believe law of attraction is partly just us tuning into what's already out there. So the things we're most afraid of are the things that are going to come true anyways at some level, and you're going to be okay. And you can also sit and say, well, what if I don't? What if I never do this? What if I get to be 85, 95, 105, and I look back and I'm like, never did this? I don't know. I believe that we are much more than we can see. I think you're going to come back and get to do it again. I really want to do that. Whatever we've done, some of my darkest moments, I've really wished to not be here. Like I've really wished to not exist. I've had a lot of pain and a lot of shadow and a lot of stuff to work through. Part of what kept me here, I mean, most of what kept me here is my kids, right? Didn't want to leave them, didn't want to do that to them. But part of what kept me here was a belief that if I exit before I'm escorted out, I will have to come back and do this again. And that kept me going. Like whatever I accomplish in this life is the benefit to my soul ongoing. So you don't do it if you're
That's
being
beautiful.
told to, it's for a reason. Follow it. And if you're so afraid of change, then change is probably due. Oh my gosh, I took it off. I just realized I took it off. This is me having an aha moment that you don't understand at all. I will explain. Um, I have been wearing a malachite bracelet for the last 3 years, almost. I didn't even realize. I must have taken it off one day because not occasionally, not consistently, sometimes. There's a word for it. I'm losing it right now. Take off my jewelry and let them kind of decompress and release energy and stuff because metal holds energy, so does stone, all those things. Fine. And I wear it all the time, so it's absorbing everything in me all the time that I'm wearing it. I took it off. I must have never put it back on. 6 years ago ish, we were at this incredible museum and had this whole room of crystals and stones. And I was like, it's awesome. And I'm not like, says she who's playing with the crystal. I'm not one of these like crystal people that like knows all of them and knows what they all do, but I think they're beautiful. I love them. Very often have at least one hanging out with me somewhere because I like them because they're
I
pretty and I
always
don't
wear them.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't have a deep understanding of them. I'm not drawn to get really deep into that discipline, but I like them. And at this place, first of all, I love it. And then there's this one stone that keeps drawing me that I just keep wanting to look at and like be next to. And it was malachite. And I'm like, what is this stone, right? I'm always curious about the significance. And malachite signified change. And I was like, no, nothing can change, right? At the time I was still married. I am not anymore. I was still very, very religious. I'm not anymore. I was still a whole lot of things that I'm not anymore. And I think part of me could feel the wind. I was terrified of change. I was like, no, no change. Shut it down. And then the change came anyways. You know, when it's coming for you, it's coming for you. Ride the wave instead of being drowned by it. Follow the thing that you're being called for, instead of pretending it doesn't exist. That doesn't help. One of my favorite quotes used to be, it's not anymore, maybe it'll come back, was by Helen Keller, is by Helen Keller, and she says, keep your face to the sunshine, you'll never see the shadows. I lived by that for so many years. If you listen to interviews of me 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, people would ask me my favorite quote. That was always it. Keep your face to the sunshine and you'll never see the shadows. And then I got into shadow work and I was like, oh, just because you don't see the shadows doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah.
Following you. As Carl Jung says, if you don't deal with the subconscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And
Absolutely.
I got very deep into that work over the last number of years. It's not my favorite quote anymore. I still like it. It's still true, but it's missing the piece that you won't see them. If you keep on the positive, you won't see, but that doesn't mean they're not there. They are
Exactly.
still there. And whatever you're most afraid of is what you're meant to deal with. That's
Yeah,
if you've
that's
got to do
beautiful.
it. Live your whole life. Don't live a piece of it. Live all of it.
That's a beautiful quote. Is that yours?
Well, live your whole life. Not a piece of it? That's
Yeah.
definitely an Estism. I just made it up now.
Yeah, probably, but it's a good one. It's
Great.
absolutely
I can
true.
write it
It's
down. Live
absolutely
your
true.
whole
We
life,
should
not
write that
just a
down.
piece
A
of
new
it.
quote by
I
Estie
will.
Starr. We will put it on the top of our of this episode. But that's beautiful because this is so true. We
Yeah.
all live like only a part of our lives if we are if we are held back by fear, if we are not open to the shadow side, if we because it's like you say, it's there. And shadow work is hard and sometimes feels unsafe, and that's why it's always good to work with a therapist or with a coach in order to do that, to have to be held in a safe space to do that. But it is a part of us, like we have so many parts that I have the impression that it's just like we don't want to see it, we don't want to consider it, but it's still there. And if that part isn't lived, most probably, like you say, we will come back and have to live it, or the next time,
You
or the
have to
next
do
time,
it
or the
again.
next time,
Like it's
depending on how
pushing on
well
you
we are in avoiding, right?
yeah, it's pushing on you for a reason. And definitely having support in that journey is critical. I'm so blessed to have had some of the most incredible mentors, coaches, friends guide me on my journey.
Mm.
Books, so many books, but also always at least one human. At least one, often more than one. I got a lot.
Yeah.
I have like
Mm.
a collection. I once heard a quote from one of my clients, actually. She quoted her grandma, and I love this quote. It hung on my wall at home for a long time. Life is not a dress rehearsal. Go out and live it.
Mm.
I just love
Yeah.
that one. Like it's
Yeah.
not, for me, like I can't not almost, right? If I
Hmm.
feel
Yeah.
it, it's a compulsion. It's like I
Yeah.
have to try it. I have to do it. I have to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the things that I am most afraid of have mostly come true. And part of
Hmm.
what I've made peace with is the things that I'm still afraid of. I can look back at all the other things I was afraid of and be like, well, those already all happened and I'm still here.
Yeah.
So I would say that also, right? The things you're afraid of now, look back at something you used to be afraid of. There's at
Mhm.
least one thing you've overcome, probably many, but at least
Yeah.
one. So there's
Hmm.
something else you used to be afraid of, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And the more you tune into it, like recently, I started tuning into car accidents, and it really was bothering me. And I was like, I'm noticing car accidents. I don't want to attract a car accident. I don't want to. And I'm like, this is the best way to do it. Okay, let it go. Playing all the mind games with myself. You study law of attraction and the spiritual metaphysics long enough. You're like, I know how this works, but I still can't necessarily do it right. And I was just noticing fender benders and all these things and like dents in cars. And I was trying not to think about it and trying not to give it any energy and not trying not to give it any attention. But it was like a little buzz of concern. And then last week, I was driving with one of my kids and I was in a parking lot and I was about to back up, and another parked car backed right into my car at like 1 mile an hour and gave it like this little, like a dent. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's not a big deal. First of all, it was definitely the other person's fault. They hacked into my car. And so insurance will take care of that. And second of all, nobody's hurt. It
Hmm.
was okay. To me, the lesson was, sometimes we're so afraid of something. Maybe it's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, car, dead, accident. Maybe it's a little dent. And yeah, so it's annoying. I have to reach out to insurance and I have to go and I have to get it repaired. It's a
Yeah.
thing. Life has things.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be terrifying.
No, that's true. It's like you say, it's what you focus on. It's what is getting your attention, and how you can, make it bigger or make it smaller or make it like, okay, if it happens, it's not the end of the world. I mean, of course, there are car accidents that end dramatically, but that's like a very, very small percentage of
Yeah.
accidents, and it's with everything. And I see a lot of fear. I see a lot of people driven by fear. I see a lot of people not driven because of fear. I see so many people that are really not living their life because they are afraid. And sometimes when you go deeper and you ask, you're afraid of what? This they know rationally that it is not really something that is there. It's just the reptilian brain their reptilian brain playing, and what they are focusing on. That's why I'm so positive, and I'm so much working myself and also with my clients with gratitude journals, with success story journals, in order to shift that focus of people into the positive. Not like that would be maybe too much of the quote of, if you look at the sun, you don't see the shadow, but it's about being balanced, and it's also about being positive and having the courage to deal with whatever comes our way, because life is throwing curveballs at us, and so you better learn to play the game with the curveballs, right?
One of my mentors, Peter Sage, taught me what he calls a magical moments journal. And I
Mm,
love it. So magical moments are those things. What's that quote? I just saw it. Life isn't how many breaths you take, it's the moments that take your breath away. That's not an
it's a
Estie-ism. I
beautiful
saw
one.
that somewhere. Yeah, I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what magical moments are. Those moments where you're just like, wow. And I had a crazy, crazy awesome synchronicity story earlier this year. The car remote for my car, the battery was dying. And so every time I'd get in the car, it would beep and it would go, car remote battery low, car remote battery low. And it was just like this annoyance. And I'd like switch it off and then it would turn itself on. And I was like, I'm gonna deal with it. All right, but I bought the car not that long before. I'd never had to deal with a car battery remote. I just didn't really know what to do with it. And so it was in my bucket of things I need to figure out, not like things I need to do and take care of. It was in my, this needs mental focus and attention to figure out, do I take it to a store? Can I do it myself? What kind of battery does it need? Like it just needs a little bit of focused attention. And so it was in that bucket and I kept remembering it. And it was, my feeling around it was like, I'll take care of this. When I have a chance, I'll take care. It's not that big of a deal. I'll get to it. This is an insane story. Oh, it's right here. Looks like this. Okay, car remote battery. Right.
Mm,
I don't know what kind of battery is inside. For all I know, it's a AAA. I have no idea I don't know how to open it. When I press the only lever that's on it, all that happens, and I did try this, all that happens, see if I can even do it now with my fancy nails. All that happens is this. So I was like,
mm.
where's the battery?
Where's the battery?
I'm brilliant at making business and marketing machines. I'm not as great with like I'm good with mechanical stuff and hardware, but not amazing. And so I was like, okay, I don't really. So it was in my bucket of things to figure out. And then on a random, I don't remember, Saturday night, Sunday, I was on my way home and I was driving past a Target that I'd never been to. And I was like, oh, I need storage bins for like under the kids' beds. I was like, all right, just pull into the Target, go in, pick up all these like giant, like under bed storage bins on wheels, like the big kind, grab a couple of other things. And each of the storage bins were like, I put them in my cart individually. It was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, right? Oh, I check out. Great. All is good. Check out with the bins, load them up, get to my car, load it all into the car. And these bins are on wheels. I load them into my car, turn around, and they wheel right out of the car, fall on the floor. The top one bounces out. There's like 4 or 5 of them, bounces out, and sitting right under it is a package of batteries. And I'm like, no. Like, first of all, I didn't steal it. Okay. We checked, we went through it all. Y'all are gonna have issues with my integrity now. But I did not, first of all, I wasn't shopping for batteries. They were like these flat, like CRV, like circle
Mm,
battery things. And I was like, that's so weird. I didn't take those. And I'm like looking, there's nothing else nestled in the bins. I know that I was careful when I left with them. There was nothing extra in there that I didn't pay for. And I was like, no, this couldn't be the battery that I need for the car remote, could it? I'm like, that would be crazy. That would be totally bonkers.
mm.
If somehow this random 2-pack of circle batteries was the exact battery I need for this beeping annoyance that I don't know how to take care of. No way. Go home. It was nighttime. Next day, I'm like, all right, let me search this up finally. Maybe it's the right thing. Find the YouTube video that explains to me how to take the whole thing apart. You got to crack it open with, it's like a whole thing. I open it. Can't make this up. I have the picture. Took the picture of the
You,
battery, car
you
remote.
cannot make this up. It's
You
impossible
can't
to
make
make this
that
up.
up. That's a magical moment
Yeah.
for me.
That's an amazing story. Magical moment. To close our conversation, Esty, I know we could go on for a long time because you are so energetic. You have so much to tell. You are a storyteller. I love it. And I would invite anybody listening or watching this episode to connect with Esty, to check her website, to see how she can help you also if you have plans in the entrepreneurial side, if you want to start, if you want to be better, if you just need to be in her energy for such, just connect with her. It was amazing to have you here on the Boundary Breakers Collective Talk Show, Esty. I thank you so much for your stories. Thank you for the quotes that you gave. Thank you for the one that you invented on the spot, that as of now is your quote. And I'm looking forward to keep learning from you and to keep see you shine in this amazing world. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.